It has been said that communication with the dead is only slightly more difficult than communication with an engineer. But with me, it's even worse. I'm not just an engineer, I'm a safety engineer. We believe in Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I'm even worse than that because I'm a nuclear safety engineer. When we're doing our sort of stuff, we plan, we assume that something with a probability of 1 in a million is certain to occur. A professor told me way back in college, if you get good at this safety assessment business, it will become instinctive for you. When you walk into a new room, you'll see, are there sprinkler systems? If there's a chandelier, what are the ways it can fall on you? That's how warped we are. Now you may be thinking, well, there's only a few of these weird characters. I don't really need to know how to communicate with them. But toward the end of my talk, I'll tell you that it's not quite that simple. So one of the most important things you have to understand about us is those of us who are engineers, especially nuclear safety engineers, we will observe and analyze. And if we become Toastmasters, then we'll even analyze words and body language. And most importantly, what is not being said. I spent a decade in an international safety project. And I know as an engineer that every part of a design has a weak point, probably many. And if that's not addressed, then I know someone is trying to play a fast one on me. So that generalizes beyond engineering. If no one's addressing the elephant in the room, the touchy subject, there's a reason. Either the culture doesn't permit that to be addressed, or someone's hiding something. Another adage you sometimes hear is, well, never let them see you sweat. Well, if you're around me, if I do see you sweat and you're presenting safety related information, that tells me something. It might mean that you're just a nervous presenter, but it might mean that you're hiding something. You know there's a weak point and you haven't told me. If you're around an engineer, don't be surprised if they ask lots and lots and lots of questions and drive you nuts with questions. That's how we're trained. Years ago, when I was in Toastmaster district leadership, I had the wonderful opportunity to attend for those 3 years international level training in Toastmasters. And we went through an exercise in various workout sessions that we characterized ourselves with a little survey form, which is now incorporated all these years later into the project that I'm doing today in the education program, understanding your communication styles. And the survey characterizes people into 4 categories, 4 boxes: analytical, supportive, initiating, direct. Analyticals are precise, exact, analytical, logical. Me, engineers. Supportive, calm, steady, approachable, sincere, and gentle. Initiating, sociable, enthusiastic, energetic, spontaneous, fun-loving. Direct, decisive, competitive, independent, and confident. These are all, of course, labels, and no one is necessarily always any one of these. Well, in surveys in different formats in different places in and out of Toastmasters, it turns out that roughly a quarter people fall into each one of these categories. So even though, sadly, it is true that not a quarter of the people in the world are engineers, probably a quarter of the people that you interact with are analyticals. And they may not be engineers, at least they may not admit it, but they're going to have some of the communication characteristics of engineers. They're analyticals. So I hope that you understand that we're a bit warped, but we're a quarter of the people out there. Understand how we choose to communicate. We'll observe. We might be quiet. That doesn't mean we're not paying attention. We might just be going into analytical mode and observing you and watching you. What's coming out of your mouth? Does it make any sense to us? Are you sweating? I'll leave you with an example or two. In that international project, I learned a couple of strange things. Number one, I realized that all the Russians that were in the project were all people, given the time in question, who had survived the Soviet era. They were really good at spotting body language. And if I wanted to know which way the wind was blowing when we'd have big design review meetings, I watched the senior Russian in the meeting. And if Dr. Chayanov was changing his tune, it meant something. I might not know what, but I'd learned to pay attention to him because he was the best reader of body language in the room. When you're in a tough meeting, you might figure out who's the best reader of body language in the room. Chayanov was. And when I'd have a group of delegation of Japanese around, only the senior most Japanese would bother to say anything. If anyone else wanted to, you could spot. I got good at it. You'd spot them looking toward the most senior Japanese in the room, clearly asking permission to speak. It was subtle, but I got to where I could watch it. So those engineers are out there, they're watching, they're analyzing, but they're also trying to solve problems. And I hope you will welcome us into your circle of friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. Mr. Toastmaster.